welcome everyone to a new video. We're going to just be looking at essentially the single player skirmish menu. I just do a quick look at all the options available for players who are new to the game in general, just looking how to get started against the AI. So we definitely should recommend going to the campaigns first and foremost. That's a good way to learn the game. But if you are interested in just playing, just a standard map, standard game, the skirmish is a good way to practice before jumping into the ranked ladder. I will just reset the settings here based on what it looks like when you first start playing. Once you get a bit more experience, you know exactly what all these settings are for. Let's just look at the first window here. It's the player box. You can change the color. There's 8 different colors. You could probably download a couple of mods if you don't like the options available. If you do leave it unblanked, you'll probably just get a random color. Usually it fills starting from player 1 and then up to number 8. So if you leave it unticked, it will go to blue most likely. If you want to play against, say, orange, you can right click to go backwards, left click to go forwards. Here are the options. Closed will just mean you can't fill that slot with a player. AI, we've got the standard AI. I'd recommend playing with this. CD version is the AI basically from 2000, and HD version is the improved AI around 2016 or so, and then currently we've got the newest AI. So leave it as is. You can change the player number here, or you can go through and press closed and it'll update as well. Same thing with the team. Obviously for 1v1 the team box doesn't make a difference. But you can change the teams. So if you want to play against, say, a 2v2, you can put 2 of you on the same team, or you can even put you and a AI teammate on the same team. Player 3 could go on their own team, and player 4 can go on their own team. But if you are on the same number, you will be allied, and you can't attack each other. But you can have up to 4 teams. If you do press the question mark, again, that will randomize the teams. So the difference between the dash means no team, and question marks will randomly place players on a team. I think the default is 2. So if you do this, it'll go down to a 2v2. Even if you've got, say, 8 players, this options will give you 2 teams of 4. If you want to make it, say it was 2v2, v2, v2, you can select the team. Say these are the 4 players you want on 4 separate teams, and then in this case, the remaining question mark players will be randomly assigned to one of the 4 teams to make even teams. So for now, let's just do a 1v1. I'll pick blue and I'll pick red for my opponent. You can pick the civilization here. Again, you can pick your favorite one just to learn on. If you are new to the game, you may as well pick a civ. Obviously, easy civs are probably the easiest way to go. Maybe the Berbers, Franks. If you want to go for an archer civ, Ethiopians is always a popular pick. But yeah, maybe for now, we'll go Huns. They're always a lot of fun. And we can play against, say, the Teutons or something, for example. So that's the player box. Let's have a look at the game settings tab here. Now, I'll go down to the bottom at the start here with the team settings. It's related to these team options here. At the moment, we are on our own team with no allies. If you lock the teams, they'll be locked throughout the duration of the match. if you untick this, you can change teams throughout the game. Obviously with the AI, it's a little bit silly, but if you have watched any of those Diplo games, diplomacy games, this box is always unticked, so you can, send some chats to certain players and try to make alliances and different teams there. Most games, you're going to see locked teams being picked. Team together, that will mean in a 4v4, the players on the same team will be spawned right next to each other. So adjacent means next to each other. If you untick that, they'll be randomly assigned. Team positions is very similar. Team positions, once your team is grouped all together, the actual color will tell you exactly where the players will be. So let's just do an example here. If we've got a team of 4, team together means these 4 players will be next to each other, and these 4 players will be next to each other. Usually how it works is the evens and the odd colors will be paired up like so. So see, I've got 1, 3, 5, 7. They're very similar looking colors versus the evens. With team positions clicked, the 1 and the 7 will be on the flanks, and 3 and 5 will be in the pocket, which means the flanks, they're on the outside, they're right next to the opponent, whereas the pockets, they're surrounded by their own team. Same with the opposite colors. 2 and 8 will be on the flanks, 4 and 6 will be in the pocket position. So that's with team positions picked. On the ranked ladder, all of these options are ticked, including shared exploration. So this means you'll be able to see exactly what your teammates are doing. So those 4 options, if you are wanting to learn to play ranked, these are the 4 options I would definitely keep ticked, as they are standard in the ranked ladder. And most lobby games, not all obviously, but most are the same. Handicap, this allows you to basically give a bit of an advantage. If you find you can't really beat the moderate AI, you can give yourself a bit of a handicap. Bonus multiplier makes things a little bit easier. Probably not a good way to learn on, so I'd leave that one unticked. Lock speed is important. That's standard as well. This will keep the speed at 1.7 speed, which is standard. You can see you can change the game speed here. There's 4 options. Normal is the standard. I would keep that one locked as well. Cheats, I would untick that one. Turbo mode, full tech, empire, sudden death, regicide, they're changing the game mode, so I'd leave those unticked for now. And record game, very rarely will you use any of these modes unless you're going out on a bit of an adventure. Alright, so that's the team settings and the advanced settings. Let's actually look at the options here. Now, data mod, there won't be any options. You can get different mods for various fun modes if you are watching a lot of the community games on Twitch or YouTube. Game mode, most common game mode will be random map. Empire Wars, that's what the Red Bull Wallow series is based on. Regicide's an old favorite. King of the Hill, Deathmatch. Yeah, very rarely will players play on anything other than random map. And here are the standard maps. So if you're a little bit confused at the moment, the single button here will allow you to pick what maps. I've just picked Acclivity. If I want to change, I can go to Amazon Tunnel. That allows you to pick the specific map that you want. You can also click the random instead of single, which will say, oh, I don't care what map, but I just want to practice all the land maps. Or for example, you want to practice the hybrid maps, or mixed maps they call it in this case. I just want to play some water games or anything with a nomad start. That's the game where you start without a TC and you get to place your starting town center. You can see there's one there. African Clearing, Land Nomad, Mountain Pass, Nile Delta. So there's a couple of nomad maps. Most players will just pick a map they want to play on. So yeah, a very common map is Arabia to start on. We'll explain a little bit more of the options in here. There are different maps for the different modes. So if you are playing, say, a Regicide map, I think you can select from the options there. Maybe Capture the Relic, I think, has a few extra maps going on here. CTR, Capture the Relic. But I'll just leave it on Random Map. And there are a couple options here. So you can click Real World, which has a couple of real world maps. France, Italy, etc. There's the special maps, which are very uncommon, but you might see that in the lobby sometimes. And custom, this is where you can get some map packs. So if you are interested in playing in any of the tournaments, you go to the mod page, download a couple of map packs, and you'll see those maps appear here. So if you see any of the interesting tournaments on YouTube or Twitch and you want to play some of the maps that you saw there, you can download them there. But for now, I think Arabia is a fairly common pick, or even Arena. Arena is a little bit more beginner friendly. You don't have to be worried so soon in the game. You get a bit of time to ease into it. I'll just pick Arabia. I will also drop these back down to just 2 players. All right. Now the map size, preferably you pick based on what the bracket is. So I think when I used to play, when I was a lot younger, I'd just pick the biggest map that I could find and just play a 1v1. But definitely stick with the recommendation here unless you are playing for a different purpose. I think most players probably should start off with standard. I think easiest, it's impossible to lose to. Standard, the AI will give you a little bit of a challenge when you're first starting out, but it is quite easy to beat the extreme with a bit of practice and a bit of research in how to play the game. The resources here, so this refers to, I think it does refer to how many starting resources that you have. So the standard amount is 200, 200, 100, and 200. So 200 wood, food, and stone, and 100 gold. So if you do actually pick, say, infinite, you'll notice like gold and stone and berries don't actually spawn on the map. So it does affect the resources on the map as well. So I'd definitely stick with standard for this one. But again, yeah, when I was a kid, I used to enjoy starting on deathmatch mode because you started with 10,000 of everything. Again, population, the standard is 200, so stick with 200. The game speed is what I was referring to. Slow, I think, is 1.0 speed. Casual, I think, is 1.5. Normal is 1.7. So the original design of the game is a little bit slow, so they actually artificially speed it up. So you might be playing a game that says it goes for 60 minutes, but it's approximately 40 minutes in real life, and not 60 minutes. So the games do look like they go for hours, but yeah, a standard game for 40 minutes in game time is probably closer to 25, I think. So stick with normal. If you are a bit of a slow person, you can slow down the game speed. It's definitely a little bit hard to go back to slow after you get used to normal, but perfectly fine to change that if you really just want a relaxed experience. So yeah, most of these settings probably know definitely recommend just sticking with the defaults. With the reveal map though, this is where it talks about the fog of war. So all visible means that you can see everything on the map and all units and all enemy buildings. Explored, it will reveal the landscape, so the trees, the forest, the grass, the ponds, the stone, the gold. But with explored, it means you still have the fog of war, so you don't know what your opponent's doing. Most game modes are played on normal, where there's fog of war. The exception is explored. The map Black Forest is typically, that one's typically played on explored. And if you do play ranked, it will be on explored. But stick to normal for most maps. It does feel a little bit off-putting at first, but once you get used to it, it's definitely an important part of the game. Again, when I was younger, I used to have it on all visible, just because it's a lot easier. But it's definitely a pretty important part of the game to have that vision and value the scouting information that you gather. Starting age, again, most are on standard. As I was saying before, you can change from random map to Empire Wars, but the starting age, Dark Age is the standard. If you are in Empire Wars, it's typical to play in Feudal Age. Another game mode, Deathmatch, which is one of the original popular modes, is played on post-Imperial. But I would keep this one at standard. Ending Age, keep this one at standard as well. Treaty length. This means you can set a timer before anyone can attack. So if you're someone who would like to play a game where you slowly build up your town and your military, you have a bit of a treaty. If you set this for, say, 25 minutes, it means that you physically cannot attack enemy units or buildings until the treaty has finished. Very rarely will you see the treaty. In Nomad games, there is a treaty on the ranked ladder where it will be 5 minutes, or if all players complete their TC in the time, then the treaty will finish sooner than the 5 minutes. So most of these settings are definitely, there's a lot of options, but I would definitely keep them on most of the defaults there. Victory is one of the ones where you might want to change it. Conquest is actually the most common one, and the ranked ladder uses Conquest. This means that you must win by destroying the opponent's units, towns, etc. Most players will resign before that, but Conquest means you can't win without beating your opponent in a military fashion. Standard is somewhat common in a couple of the Discord tournaments I play in, which means if you build a wonder and it stands for however long in game, I think it's like 200 years, you can win with a wonder victory, or you can win by collecting all relics on the map. Again, that has a countdown timer. So you can still win by Conquest, but Standard has a couple of extra options, which means if it's there's going to be a breakthrough if you collect the relics or build a wonder. The other options here, time limit. Again, the Red Bull Wallaloo does actually have a time limit on. It means that the game's, if no one's got an edge or no one's winning and no one's resigned, the player with the highest score after the time limit will actually win. Score, very rarely is this one used. And last man standing. Usually you might see this in a Diplo game. If you want to have one person win at the end, but probably put this on Conquest would be my recommendation. So it is a little bit overwhelming, this screen, I think, because there's so many options. But that's a bit of an explanation into how you can set up a skirmish game. So once you hit start game, you'll appear into the game screen, and yeah, now you can play one of your games.